Hi everyone and welcome back to our second project. In the previous video, we made a new file called main.py where the main Streamlit code and the main code was being written. So let's continue. And if you know, try is a condition that requires an except. So let's put in our except. So I'm going to say, and but before this, I'm going to say st.success to show that the file has been loaded successfully. Article has been fetched. So when it's going to be a warning, it's going to be outputted in red. When it's success, it's going to be outputted in blue. So now I'm going to say except exception st.error. So it's basically going to give us an error if it could not get a URL or it could not fetch the data. So it's going to say fail to fetch the article, and then we can say please recheck the URL. So this is going to be our try. It's going to be from if. So now the next part that we're going to do is the question section. So we're going to say if article text in session in st.session state. So basically what it's going to do here is it's going to check if we got data. As before we said that article text basically means the text from the article. So if article.text is there, which means if we have got the data from the website, then we're going to ask a question and it's going to be st.text input, ask a question about the article. So then next what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if st.button get answer, then but before that, I also have to check whether a question is there or not. So I'm going to say if not question, st.warning, please ask a question. And I'm going to say else prompt. So now we're basically going to make a prompt which we are going to, as in the previous video, how we did it. So this is going to be where we are going to ask a question to our LLM. So I'm going to say answer using only this article. And then I'm going to say if missing, say this article does not contain this information. Because if you ask a question which for which the answer isn't there inside the data which we received from the URL, then it's going to say this article does not contain this information. Then we are going to say slash n backslash n and backslash n again. So this is basically going to make the prompt to leave two lines, and then I'm going to say st.session state. Again, the session state is where the article text is there. So I'm going to say st.session state dot article text, and now again I'm going to make a new variable. Now this was the prompt, and now I'm going to make a variable called as response. And but before this, after text here, I'm going to say slash n question, as it should know what the question is. I'm going to say question is question. So If you notice at the start, we use something called F, and F basically means format. So what format does is it lets us to use variables by using a bracket. By using flower brackets, we can put in a variable just like article, text, and question. But if we use it without F, it's going to directly make that part of the string. If you notice without F, it becomes part of the string, and the Python interpreter won't identify it as a variable. So we use F. Now, what I'm going to say is I'm going to say response is equal to client.chat completion. So chat completions is a very popular function and one of the main functions that we use to get an answer from our LLM. So I'm going to say dot create. Now we're going to give a model and model. Now I'm going to set it to GPT 3.5 turbo, but you can set it to 4.0 mini as well to get better answers. Now I'm giving it as turbo so that my quota will remain, as the more better a model is, the more quota is taken. And then I'm going to give messages. Now messages is one of the labels that we need to provide, and messages will be in the form of a dictionary. So here I'm going to give it a role and I'm going to give it content. So now the role here is going to be user, and the user is us. So it's going to take info from us, which is going to be the question, and the content, which is basically what we are asking, it's going to be prompt. So it's basically by selecting role, it's going to be ready to take a prompt from us, and what we type is going to be the prompt. So we don't have to by ourselves input a prompt directly to the LLM, but instead by using chat completions, the code itself will input the prompt to the LLM to get an answer. Now ST has a function called write. So I'm going to say st.write response.choices dot choices 0 dot message dot content. Now I'll tell you why we're using dot message dot content. So basically, when we get a answer usually from the LLM, it's going to give all the information such as how many tokens were used and a lot of extra information which is not necessary. By using response dot choices message dot content, we can filter it out so that we only get the particular answer and not the other unnecessary data. So with this, we are done with the coding part of this project. And now it's time to make that small change, as I said in the previous video, about how in Beautiful Soup, sometimes the website will have the data inputted using a div or an article tag. And as you can see here, we've used P for paragraph tag. So now let's make a change so that it will be able to adapt to any form of the tag. So let's go to our article analyzer, and here the change we have to make is here in this paragraphs. So instead of this we can leave the last line, but here we're going to make a small change by saying body is equal to soup dot find body. Now what this is going to do is it's directly going to find any tag which has information in it, as all of this is just junk which isn't required. Now it's going to find article tags, div tags, and also paragraph tags. So any visible text is going to be found by the Beautiful Soup using this command. So then I'm going to say text is equal to body dot get text, body dot get text, and separator equals blank. So as we did before, blank basically means it's going to give spaces. And I'm going to say, after this, I'm going to say if body, else blank again. So now if there's a body, it's going to do this part, or else it's going to return nothing. Now this again, as I said, it's going to remove all extra spaces and it's going to leave one space between all the data lines. So now we can go ahead and run this. So let's open our terminal, and here we can type in our command to run. So we're going to say, let me open up a new terminal. So here we should go to the terminal tab, click new terminal, and that opens a new terminal for us. So I'm going to say by using the old command, which is python slash m, I mean minus m, streamlit run, and we're going to put the name, which is main.py. And here it's going to automatically open our browser, redirect it. So we can just wait for it to open. So now here, this sign over here, it basically indicates that it's running. So what I can do now is I have a URL already ready here. So let me just copy this. I'll copy this and I'll enter this URL over here. And now by clicking fetch article, it's going to get data and it's going to say could not load enough content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and as you can see before what we did, we said if article is greater than 500, then could not load enough content. So now we're going to replace this as well. So instead of putting if length of article is greater than 500, we're going to remove this and we're going to make sure that no matter how small the data is, it's going to directly try to give us an answer. So I have fixed that. Now let's save this and make sure to save your file every time you make a change for it to resist in the Streamlit. So now let me run this again and using the run option up here will not work. You're going and to stop to run it again you have to click Control C or Command C and this will stop and then we can run this again. So let me run it and again it's going to redirect me to my browser where we can wait for it to load again. So as you can see, it has loaded for me. Let me enter a URL and let me click fetch article. And now we can just wait for the next UI to pop up and we can ask a question. And I'm going to ask, what is this article about? And I'm going to click get answer. So this is going to give me an answer saying this article is about anti-government protests in Iran, the overwhelming conditions at hospitals, and this is going to be a short answer. So basically, this is the how we can make use of this and international responses to protests. So let me ask, what was the response to protests? Now again, the questions have to be stated very properly, which basically the question should be exactly related to the article because if it's even slightly out of the topic it won't give you an answer. So you can see Iran's National Security Council, etc., etc. So it's going to give us proper answers. But one issue that you need to look out for is when it won't give you an answer sometimes because some articles don't put all their data inside body or div or article or paragraph tags. Sometimes they might be using extensions to stop web scrapers like Beautiful Soup. So if it doesn't work, I suggest that you use different articles like articles from BBC, which is exactly which I have used, because most of the data is put in paragraph tags or tags that which work, while some other URLs may not work due to this issue of them using different tags or blocking us from taking information. So, and if you also get an error regarding the quota of OpenAI, which is going to show up as error 429, you don't need to worry. That means there's no mistake in your code, but it just means you've run out of quota because most people will be going on a free plan for ChatGPT, and OpenAI basically has a particular quota that you can use, and after that, it will stop allowing requests. So, to get more quota, you're going to have to pay credits and get requests from them. So basically, this is how you make a project which can get URLs from the web and you can ask questions and get answers. So I will see you in the next project.